Alright everyone, so welcome to the week 6 activity. So for this activity you're gonna need these supplies. So that'll be a roller, a pen or pencil, primary blue color pencil, red and yellow. Make sure that they are primary yellow and red. And a thick Sharpie. You don't have to have a Sharpie, but it'll be much easier with using the Sharpie. So this week we're gonna take a look at the balance, and we're gonna take a look at unity. So for the first worksheet, I want you to complete these tasks that I presented. So it has 1, 2, 5 tasks here. So you're gonna have to place this element on this all this scale so that it balances visually. So I'm just gonna go over a couple things so that you get the idea of what is going on. So we talked about this in the lecture. So on this fulcrum, we just place the bigger element closer to the fulcrum so that we achieve the visual balance here. And so on. So here you're presented with this open shape. So you can think about where to put on this scale and see if it achieves the visual balance. So if you're not sure, I suggest using the pencil instead of pen. So here we talked about how the open shape seems lighter than the closed ones like this one. So it'd be safe for us to place a square right at the end of the scale and still maintain that visual balance, because this is open, not filled, and this has the shade filled in it. And then this one, we talked about how you can put the multiple ones, stack multiple ones to balance this out. And this one, we also talked about how circle is inherently seems lighter than the square. And here, another example of how shade can make a difference. So here, this is not correct because this is empty. So this is supposed to be lighter than this, but this is position closer to the fulcrum, so we're gonna have to do something on this square. So I want you to figure out how to do that. It shouldn't be hard, and if you're not sure how to do this, just go take a look at the lecture video again. And next one, we're gonna take a look at unity and unifying forces. So here I want you to create your own design using circle, triangle, and a square. Or if you wanna make it a little bit more prettier, you can do different shapes. I'm gonna use circles here because it's easier. So grouping, we talked about how we can how the unifying force of grouping creates unity within the composition. So I'm gonna use these 3 shapes. So actually I'm gonna use the Sharpie because it's easier. I'm gonna start with circle, maybe triangle here, square, triangle, another circle, triangle, and circle. Here I mostly position the these shapes to the left. Now I'm gonna do another one. Square, triangle, circle, triangle. So now I have effectively made a grouping by the location. But here, another thing that I can do is I could accentuate the grouping by giving it a color. Voila. So now I've used 2 unifying forces here, which is going to be the location and color. So I want you to think about come up with your own design for your unifying composition. So now let's work on the repetition. So here I'm gonna use these right here. And I'm just gonna keep on creating this. Alright, so now I've created this repetition of these different shapes. But here also I could accentuate by introducing color to this repetition. Alright, so I successfully created this repetition, and then I assigned these three colors to each shape to create an even stronger unity within the composition. So next we're gonna work on the proximity. So like I said before, like I said, I want you to come up with your own composition, meaning your own drawing. You do not copy exactly what I'm doing here. So let's work on the proximity. So proximity is about how things are close together. Our minds tend to just unify those together and then register it as a whole. So here I want to accentuate the concept by introducing two very different shape, not very different, but somewhat different. Alrighty, so I've created this kind of motif got going on, but here I'm going to use color to make things. This is more like a group exercise, but I'm going to show how by introducing grouping and then placing two similar same color object together, you can achieve the visual effect of optical effect of proximity. Alrighty. So even though these elements are separated together because they share such a small gap and proximity, our mind, if you look at it from the distance, our eyes registered as this whole elements and also I accentuated this grouping by assigning different color to different regions of these shapes. So that is proximity and grouping working together. And continuity. So let's talk about continuity. Here it is going to be a little bit tricky, so I want you to think about how you can convey this idea of continuity. Well, this is tricky, so Alright, so I created this maze looking thing. So let's introduce a little bit of continuity here. So I'm gonna accentuate the continuity with the color again. Alright, so by assigning the color to each pathway, I've accentuated the continuity of the elements. So even though this pipe looking thing goes out of the frame, because it shares the same color, our mind connects them together outside of the frame. Excuse me. So for instance, our mind thinks that this pipe goes here and here and here and here and there, then comes back out from somewhere around here and somewhere out there, and then kind of doing all this crazy kind of maze, completing this maze looking thing. So this is how you can, this is one example of how you can convey continuity within your composition. So I want you to come up with your own design. All right, so once you're done with that, let's work on the balance now. So here, we're gonna mimic the Piet Mondrian's painting. So we took a look at his work. So this is Piet Mondrian's design. So you are familiar with this, right? So we're gonna complete these tasks. So here we have to somehow balance this large red square with the blue and yellow. So first, let's complete these black lines. I'm gonna use a ruler here so that I can make everything nice and pretty. Oh, that was horrible. But anyway, I'm gonna flip my ruler like this. That was better. Okay, so we need to balance this out. So there's no right answer to this exercise, so you can do whatever you want to do, however you want to do as well. Top like that. So I'm gonna divide it up like that. And here somehow I need to balance this big red circle. So first I'm gonna how should I tackle this? I'm gonna try coloring this rectangle blue. And take a look at it, and I feel like this large rectangle right here has to be yellow to balance it out. And one last thing, like that. I'm just being playful here. Well, I say it's well balanced now because here, like we did, I've used this principle of adding multiple elements to balance this big one. So that's what I did here, because just by having these two felt like it wasn't the big red surface right here wasn't balanced. Oh yeah, sorry, wasn't balanced. So I added extra one here so that I can kind of balance this out. All right, so here now we have to think about how we can create a red circle to balance this out. So first thing first, I'm gonna complete these lines. All right. So here, obviously, the red one has to, because we have to balance these two, the red one has to be the big one. Well, that's not too bad. But what if I introduce another blue right here? Will it tip the scale of the balance? Maybe, just by a little. So how about if I put red in here. And I need more yellow, obviously. Introduce yellow right over here. And take a look. I think it's balanced for now. I think so, because we have almost equal amount of yellow, red, and blue. Alright, so here I want you to figure out on your own. So next assignment, it is going to be creating your own Mondrian painting. So I have these black lines pronounced like this. So I want you to create your own Mondrian and think about the balance and unity at the same time. So let's get right in. So I'm gonna divide it up, the line right over here. And since the line is a little bit thicker, I'm gonna use my ruler to make it a little bit thicker. Okay, that's looking good. Alright, so I'm gonna color this red. Alright, that is it for this week's assignment. So here, since this big part of the area is red, I had to put as much blue as possible and yellow to balance this out. So the easiest way you can approach this, just forget about this right over here, and just by looking at section by section, you can see that how I balance this big red using the big blues and here and there, and then also adding these two yellows here. And also if you take a look at just this part of the design, you see that how I balance this red using these two yellows and blue right over here, so thus creating this kind of a overall well-balanced composition. So I want you to come up with your own Mondrian design. And so this Mondrian creating your own Mondrian and balance and unity exercise, and this balance exercise, and these 4 exercises will be due by next Friday. So this is going to be this week's hands-on activity. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And if you're not sure about what are these, just go back to the lecture video on and you should be able to know what it is. And if you still don't understand what it is, there are a lot of YouTube videos that you can use as a reference, so please go in and do that. And also textbook roughly explains what it is. So but no matter how much you read or listen, I don't think you're going to get it until you actually get your hands dirty and then have this hands-on experience using these principles into your own design. So this is why I keep making you guys to do this kind of a rather elementary looking but complex assignments. So that is it for this week, and make sure to turn in your week 5 activity by Friday. And yeah, so I'll see you guys on the next video.